Whoa, 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 absolutely mind-bogglingly crazy chapter. Garou literally transforms into possibly his final form here in the One Punch Man manga. I was not expecting to get the chapter this early, so long. It's like 39 pages, which is way more than what Murata usually does in his standard releases. And Garou transforms, Saitama blows off Garou's arm. It's an absolutely crazy chapter. Now, before we go into all the little details of this chapter, and there's a lot, so this is going to be a long video, guys. Make sure you get your popcorn. There's a ton to talk about here. But firstly, I want to go over, is this manga progressing too fast? I mean, the speed at which the One Punch Man manga, it seems like this fight could be over in literally the next chapter, but it really depends on what One and Murata are going to do with this iteration. So Garou does transform in the fight against Saitama in the webcomic. He grows in this like giant gargoyle thing to try and get enough strength to beat Saitama after the serious table flip. That's like the very end of the fight. So Garou transforming here kind of worries me a little bit that we could actually be at the very end of the arc, but I don't think so. I think fans have been waiting way too long, and since it's been 4 years since the webcomic aired this fight, I think One has taken his time to deliberate, how am I going to reimagine this fight? How am I going to take the audience who knows what to expect on twists and turns and completely fool them and surprise them? Because I know for sure that like literally every One Punch Man fan will be decimated if this fight is over in the next chapter, and I would be too. I think it will ruin their legacy. I mean, we haven't seen the serious table flip, and there's one image in this chapter where it looks like Garou is bouncing around on rocks that are in the sky, and I'm thinking to myself, like, is this an homage to the serious table flip? Is the serious table flip going to get skipped? Because that's something that everybody wants to see, and we know Murata can pull it off to like the 10th degree, and everybody wants to see it, but we haven't gotten any mention of that yet. Is Garou just warming up? Is he going to transform even further? So many questions, but I love his new form. I feel like he looks super evil, like almost like some hellish spawn looking thing or venom, and I really like this form out of him. I mean, he's pretty much unrecognizable now at this point, and he definitely looks way more powerful than the previous iteration of Garou, of awakened Garou that we have seen. But I believe that this is going to be the form that he's going to use in the entirety of the fight. However, he did land a full power strike on Saitama at point blank range, and it did nothing. So Garou very well may have to transform even more in order to hurt Saitama, which he's probably not going to do. Or he could take the power of God, which is what I want to see, what I've been theorizing. It's a possibility. Is he going to have to throw away his humanity and his goals all together out into the wind and just accept the power of God, which is completely against his character, just so that he can beat Saitama? And then maybe Blast shows up and we get this Blast and Saitama versus Garou God. It would be crazy, but it's possible. I mean, One definitely has the possibility he could do that, considering how much God has been in this manga. Now, let's go over this chapter from start to finish, because there is just so much to talk about here, and it's just delicious as a One Punch Man fan, so let's get into it. Okay, first up, we gotta talk about this cover page. How insanely lit is this? This mega hype fight that we have been so excited about for so darn long. It's finally here, and it's finally happening. And Saitama, I'm loving these cover pages. The last few that Murata has done has been this standoff between Garou and Saitama. This one saying the most powerful facing off and the most evil. The title of the chapter being the greatest hero. And the build up to the battle continuing is actually insanely hype. So there was a standoff at the end of the last chapter, but in this chapter they go straight back into the battle, like without even showing it. So a lot of stuff is actually happening off screen, but here the humans, the heroes, Sekkengar, Moomin Rider, they're all trying to figure out how to evacuate all of the civilians and the S-rank heroes and get everyone out of danger. And they're like, well, what happened to those two mega monsters? Like, one of them got split in half. Now Terio, the little child that Garou has saved multiple times and who he looks up to, says that it was definitely my uncle that took them down, and they're trying to figure out like, oh, your uncle. But then that gets interrupted by this just like black tornado in front of them that's just expanding, and it goes into this like crazy Dragon Ball Z battle. I mean, like, we're literally like at Ultra Instinct versus Ultra Instinct levels of speed here, and the way that Murata is able to draw this is actually unreal. I mean, I wish the Dragon Ball Super manga looked this good, because My opinion, Murata does it better, okay? Like, I might get some hate for saying that, but you see these explosions going off in the sky. There's a tornado of, attacks going off in front of everybody it's too fast for them to see. The way Murata is able to depict this, to me, it hits way harder. It just hits different, you know what I mean? So here we get to see this crazy double page of Garou doing all these attacks and martial arts on Saitama. It's like kind of following the speed of these characters so much that it looks like there's a bunch of after images, and it's amazing. Like, I love how Saitama's dodging. I love how Garou's attacking. Murata, as always, the god of art. I mean, he's able to like literally make a still page feel like it's animated, and as you're watching it, you just kind of envision it like going on in your head. This guy is literally like a magician when it comes to art. So Garou does this like crazy Genos, like overhead kick, like he slams his leg down on Saitama and it thunders him down into the earth. I mean, these guys, I don't know how, like, they were just on Earth, like, battling in this tornado of speed. Now they're all the way up in the sky. That's how fast they're moving. That's what I mean by this is like an Ultra Instinct kind of battle going on, because they go from, like, ground to sky, like, the panels are changing, and they're not even showing how they got there. And then here, this is what I was talking about in the beginning of the video. This is what has me kind of worried, because it looks like the way that Garou is bouncing off these rocks, like, that is the serious table flip. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope it just isn't something that happened off screen. I don't know why Murata would skip it though. Like, I figure it's gotta be coming in the next chapter or two, right? Like, I pray to God. I pray to Murata, God Sensei. So Garou comes in, says my fist, and now he's gonna fly in and land a crazy martial arts chop on Saitama's head. And we all know that you never chop the Baldy's head. Now, I just want to fangirl out over Murata's art and the way that his storyboarding for this in particular, the way that he has the battle, Garou hitting Saitama down to the ground, Garou flying down with this crazy fist, chopping the head, and now the screen, as Murata does to show the damage and impact, keeps expanding outward, and it just helps you so much as an audience feel that explosion, the damage, the waves of energy coming off of it, and that's just like amazing storyboarding. Like, Murata does that on the big impact panels, and he just keeps zooming out to show the scale, and it's so much information for the audience. Like, it just helps so much to kind of comprehend the strength of the characters. It's amazing. Now here, it looks like Garou's arm is kind of shattering a little bit, or like splitting apart from the impact of chopping Saitama's head, who now, like, he doesn't say serious headbutt, but it looks like he headbutts, or he just kind of pushes himself up, and he literally shatters off Garou's whole forearm and hand included. I couldn't believe this, because like, I didn't know if Garou could regenerate or not. Like, I know he had just crazy resilience, like he could have, his rib cage shattered and like keep fighting. His entire skeletal structure could get shattered and he keeps fighting. But here he gets his hand blown off, and in this crystallization method, he reforms his arm. And so, like, yes, he had resilience before. Now he literally has instant regeneration, just like Boros. So I guess Murata is putting this in here to show us that Garou is like Boros 2.0, or maybe even stronger than Boros. And then he punches Saitama in the face, does nothing, and then Saitama returns the punch. And look at the way that this art is done, that like the way that Garou's body is like shifting into oblivion. You can feel like the airwaves like carrying his body outward from that single punch. And it sends him flying, and I mean like insanely flying. You can see these like explosions of waves as he rockets through the ocean, heading towards all of the civilians and everything before he finally stops. Murata, of course, does not hold back, showing us this beautiful single page. He probably could have done a double page here, but I'm super happy with this, of just enormous levels of landscape detail. This is something that he's been doing a lot in this arc, is focusing on the landscape detail, and it's just so breathtaking. I mean, you can see like Garou's like little leg poking out of the dirt there as the water starts flooding into the crevice from which Garou was like rocketed from Saitama's punch. It's just crazy. So he gets out, he's covered in water, and there Terio yells for, "Oh, hey, uncle." And it's interesting because Sekengar and the heroes don't even realize that it's Garou because he's transformed so much. They just know that he helped destroy Elder Centipede earlier. Garou saying, "Damn it, I was right there just when I was about to reach my ultimate goal. The biggest hurdle of them all had to get in the way. I've got to take him out. And that rage, that anger that something is in Garou's way makes him start to transform. And he says, or I'll never be able to become absolute evil. And so he grows in stature, his like spikes on his shoulders grow out more, and he transforms. He basically just gets like bigger, bulkier, stronger, faster, all the above. He gets everything he needs. Now, interestingly, everybody sees him as a monster now, which is funny because like even though in his previous form, they didn't know if he was a monster, he was human, or like whatever. But Garou recognizes that rage that he had inside of him caused his body to mutate in response. And he's like, what is this? Like he doesn't even realize like what's happening through this monsterification. Also interesting to note that he is fully conscious throughout this entire transformation. So in his previous transformation, he was kind of just in this like asleep state, and that's why he awakened, like Bang awakened him. But here he's fully awakened and transforming. So he says, get this, my strength is overflowing, like just like Broly. My power level is overflowing. And then here we get a full page shot of Garou's new monster form, and like, yeah, he looks crazy evil, scary looking, but while his body is transforming, empowering him up even more, he still retains complete control over his mind. Like I thought he was gonna try and kill Terrio here, but he doesn't. He actually has like a full-blown conversation with Terrio, and he's just transformed. Terrio is trying to like recognize him because he looks so much different. He's like, is this really Uncle? And yeah, I mean, Garou has been through so many transformations since the beginning of this arc, and he's finally achieved his full monsterified state, or so we think. I mean, there could still be more depending on what one wants to do. And interestingly, Terrio's trying to convince Garou that he's a hero, even though Garou is saying that he is now fully a monster. And they have a bit of dialogue back and forth here because Terrio's like, you know, you saved me 4 times, you're the coolest hero of them all. This doesn't really add or contribute to anything besides Saitama coming in. Now, for whatever reason, maybe because of the transformation, Saitama realizes finally that Garou is Garou. And like this entirety, he's been like fighting Garou. He's knocked him out a bunch of times, you know, like we had that homage in the last chapter of all the times that Saitama beat Garou throughout the entire arc. And now Saitama realizes, for whatever reason right now, finally, that it's Garou, and he starts to basically make fun of him, call him immature, tell him that he's wearing cosplay, and you know, obviously the comic relief is just gold in here. And Garou says to Terrio, watch closely, I'm going to destroy your entire outlook on life and show you why heroes are powerless. And that's basically, in a nutshell, Garou's entire goal, is he wants to become a monster so monsters can win and show that heroes in nature are actually just a bunch of fakes and they're useless. And oh boy, Saitama says, you want to hit me, and just puts his jaw right in front of Garou's face. Dude, look at that face on Garou. Like, what kind of hellish design? How did Murata even draw something like that, dude? He just puts his face right up in front of Garou and says, go ahead. He says, you chicken, just completely taunting him, to which Garou says, don't make me laugh. And look at this evil face on Garou. Like, my God, the detail, that looks crazy, dude. And then bam, Garou comes in with the right hook or uppercut or something. Look at the damage. It looks like there is blood splattering out of Saitama's head. I guess that's little pieces of Garou's like armor or monster shell like coming off from the punch, but you can feel like, oh my God, can you feel the speed and power of that punch? Like none other. And then this is one of the more like interesting or shocking panels here. As Garou is shocked, we see Saitama lift his head up, doesn't have a single scratch on him. And I kind of don't like this though as a reader. Like, I know Saitama's a parody character and he'll never lose, but it's like we've been waiting for this fight for so long. I would at least like to see a little bit of damage on Saitama or some dust or something. I mean, he's like, don't worry, I won't get hurt. I'm literally invincible. And so the reason why it kind of bothers me a little bit is because I feel like this fight's already over before it's even begun, you know? Like, I know Saitama wasn't going to have a challenge, but it's like if Garou just landed a point-blank full-power punch on Saitama, how are we going to even get to the point of the table flip? So this scares me a little bit that the fight might be over in the next chapter, but Saitama does say, let's take this over there. He hits Garou away, and assumably they're going to be fighting in some other landscape for the rest of this battle. So he's taking Garou away, and maybe now Garou will get really serious, or he'll transform again, or he'll take God's power or something like that. But yeah, Garou literally just got bitch smacked. Like, he literally threw a full power punch at Saitama. It did absolutely nothing. And then Saitama straight up Will Smith this guy. So yeah, guys, yet another absolutely incredible chapter. Awesome to see Garou's transformation. I don't think he's done. I think he's got to go even further. And I'm really curious as to what Murata and One are holding in store for us, and if Garou may eventually take God's power in this arc. I pray to God that this arc does not end in the next chapter, but it's possible. That would let down a lot of fans, but probably not. It seems like the fight's going to keep going. It's going to heat up. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I'm Mastar, and yeah, see you on the next One Punch Man video. Peace.